This is Marketing of Today. I'm Cesar. Let's go! Welcome to the Marketing of Today podcast. This is Cesar. How you doing today, Domingo?
Hey, I'm doing great.
I'm honored that you're here today, man.
It's my complete honor to be here. I see what you're doing, and I'm loving everything you're doing.
I appreciate it. And, you know, I'm surprised myself that I'm able to have people here that actually want to come on and that they're engaging with me because they see the content, they see the value. And I really, really appreciate that you're here because I know that you've been in the business for how long? 20 to 25?
22, this is my 22nd year.
And mostly, what areas are you covering?
I cover Passaic, Bergen, Essex, Morris, and Union.
Oh, wow. Okay. And you have a team. I know you told me that the other day, right?
Yeah, I have a small team.
And you're based off where? Where is your office?
My office is out in North Helden.
Okay.
My house.
I love Helden. The first time I went to Helden was in 2020, and I felt like it was a good town. You know, the deeper you go into the back, is you're doing borderline with Patterson, but the deeper you go into it, the nicer it gets. You got like that old town feeling.
Yes, it's pretty suburban.
Yeah. So how long you been living there?
I've been living there 15 years.
Okay. So where are you from originally here in Jersey?
I'm originally from Passaic.
Oh, from Passaic? What was street? By the way, we're in Passaic.
Born and raised in Passaic, New Jersey. Beth Israel Hospital is now gone. That's where the school is at now over there. That's where I was born. I was actually raised right on this street. But
Lexington?
Yeah, no, it's Hamilton turns into Lexington. So
yes.
I'm on Hamilton.
Oh, wow. So you were right in the town, right in town.
Right there, yeah.
Oh, wow. So you've been we're talking about 1970s, 80s?
Yeah.
So how was the town then? You know, every time I hear someone that is from town, I always ask him how was Passaic, because, I heard that it has evolved a lot, but it was very different back in the 70s, 80s.
Oh, completely different.
It was more industrialized?
It was industrialized before. It was industrialized in the very early 70s.
Mm-hmm.
Because I asked my father what made them move here.
Okay.
And my father and my mother met in Manhattan. And he said that one of his friends had told him that if you want to get a job, you need to go to Jersey, and they're paying good. So somebody sent him here to Passaic. There was a lot of industry here.
Wow.
So he came, he got hired on the spot.
I imagine that back then taking a bus to Passaic is not the same as taking a bus today.
Very, very similar to 190 coming down Main Avenue.
That bus has been there for those many years.
That bus has been around for that.
Well, a little history on you guys, right? When I started this business, and I met the guy who got me this office, we used to come every day from the Bronx because I used to live in New York. So I used to live in the Bronx in New York. I took the 5 train, if I don't remember correctly. My wife will kill me if she hears this. The 5th train, then I would take the bus, and then I'll take like either walk or an Uber because the 190 stays over there, but I'll walk down. But if I was late, I would like stay in East Rutherford by the train, pick an Uber, and that's how I got here. The reason why I'm telling this story is because to give you guys a little bit of information and value, the reason why I still work with the person that got me this office is because that day he said, I never seen a kid at 20-something years old do what you just did. Take a train, a bus, and an Uber to get here all the way across from New York to New Jersey. That's how this business started.
Wow.
Because I used to do it for fun. I used to be a YouTuber. Now I started doing it for creating content and for people as a business because he hired me.
Wow.
And since then, look, here we are.
Right. It's evolved into this.
Exactly. So that's why I like what I told you in the beginning. Like it feels great to me. Today has been a very emotional day for me because me and my wife and, we were thinking about everything that we have worked for to get here. And I can only see myself 5 years from now. So looking at you in the real estate industry for 22 years, what happened to you in the 2000s when things got a little murky? How did you lose vision? Did you sit back down? Did you give up on the dream of being a broker in the real estate world?
Okay, so when you're talking like the crash time. You're talking like 2008 or before that.
Well, if you started what year?
I started in the year 2000.
2000, right? But you just came out of the crash and the market at that time too. Because remember that
I didn't know it though.
You didn't know it.
I didn't know it.
You never paid attention to any of that.
I wasn't paying attention to anything.
So what were you? You were doing rentals at that time?
No, I came straight from corporate. I came straight from working in Manhattan.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I used to work in Manhattan. I used to sell. At that time, I was selling advertising.
Oh really?
Because I used to work in the music business for years. I worked in the music business. I did a lot of music. I worked in television. When I graduated college, I went to work. I had interned my senior year of college. I interned half my senior year at a television production studio called King World, where they had the Rolanda Watts show, they had Inside Edition, and they had another show. I don't remember.
Wow.
So I worked in that studio.
Okay.
Half of my senior year. The other half of my senior year, I worked at Sony Music in the distribution department. So when I ended up graduating, there was neither one of them was hiring. So I was like, oh man, what am I gonna do? So because
at that time you didn't know that the market was not good, because for those companies the market was not good.
Yeah, for me, it didn't affect my life. You know what I mean? So I wasn't paying attention to the markets. I wasn't paying attention to any of those. Those things were not relevant to me.
Because you were just gonna go do what you got to do to handle business.
Yeah, because for me, when I was in college, I wanted to be a filmmaker. That was going to be my thing.
Interesting.
Yeah. But then what happened was when I started doing the films for my film 1 and film 2 classes, I realized how much back then we had to shoot on reels. I was a little broke kid from Passaic. I didn't have no money. Those reels were like $7 a reel. And you had to keep buying them. If you mess up, you bad shoot. Yep. So I couldn't. So for my projects for school, number 1, I had to buy the reels. Number 2, I needed actors and actresses. Yeah. So my friends already did 2 projects for me. They were like, "Yo, we ain't doing a 3rd movie, bro." So I was like,
"They're not in the mood for that."
They're not. They did 2 of them for me for fun, and after that,
it was work, and it's like that's too much.
Yeah, it was straight work. So you figure you got that. So you figure the expense in that. So I quickly adjusted, and I said, you know what? I'm probably better off doing television production. Because with that, I shoot that in the studio at school, and I got my classmates to help me with that.
Yeah, because schools will fund it basically.
Well, the school at our school is a communication school, so we had all the communication equipment there. Exactly. Everything was there. But more importantly than that, I had my classmates. So if I had to do a project, I'd be like, "Yo, Cesar, help me with my class project, and I'll help you with yours."
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? So I had the backing there. So that's what happened with that. Then, like I said, so then fast forward to me graduating. I'm thinking I'm going to go to one of those 2 places.
Corporate world, yeah.
Right. So I'm like, either one would be fine. I loved the television one, and then I loved the music one. So come to find out, none of them were hiring. So a wise person, I can't remember who told me, but somebody was like, "Hey, if I were you, stay close by, just in case that any of those things open up, you could go right into them." So in other words, don't go and jump into another job and go somewhere else. Like stay in New York and stay close. So in case anything, and it's
you can go to a meeting, or you can take
an interview, anything, or a meeting, and you're still relevant. You're still in it, right? So what I did was I kept in touch with the people at both places.
Okay.
And just like that, I end up taking a job at a record store in Manhattan. So I ended up working at a record store. So I was still in music, and I was knowing what was selling and all that, because I figured, you know what, it's going to be a good in for me, because when they interview me, I can be like, look, I can bring value. I know what's selling. I know what people are buying. I know what people are listening to.
That's part of your interview now.
Right.
You could show them that you're in the market.
Right. And I'm relevant. I have relevant information to what's going on, right, to the ear. So sure enough, I stay in touch, and one day I called my friend up who I used to work with at the internship, and he's like, "Yo, guess what? I got promoted." So I was like, "Oh man, congratulations!" He goes,
"His spot got open."
Right. So then right there, he's like, "Yo." So, and mind you, I'm so naive. I'm not even thinking that his spot got open. So I'm like congratulating him. I was like, "Yo, I'm so happy for you. That's so dope," because he was my friend and everything. He's like, "Yo, but you ain't get to the best. I ain't get you the best news yet." And I'm like, "What's that?" He was like, I referred you for my spot." So I was like, "Oh, bro, thank you." He's like, "Yo, so you got an interview coming up, and you know who it's with." So I'm like, no. It was her name was Laura G, which she was our boss. She was my boss for the internship.
So she already knows
She already
you.
knew me. She liked
knew
me,
you did,
everything. She already knew who I was. So I walk into the interview and it's me and her. She's like,
This is for Sony?
It's for Sony. So I walk in and I'm like, oh. She's like, oh. They called me Flacco back then. So she was like, Flacco, oh my gosh. She goes, I don't got to interview nobody else because you got the job. You want it. And I'm like, thank you, of course. She goes, there's only one thing to it though. She goes, it's going to be part-time right now. So I was like, oh. I was like, wow. You know what? I said, I was so hungry. I was like, I'll take it.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. So I took it, and lo and behold, it was such a blessing. I think it was a month, maybe 2, and I got promoted to full-time.
And this is what year?
This is right out of college. This is year after college. This is 1996.
Okay, so you spent like 4 years working in the music industry?
Yeah, man. Yeah, this is 1995, 1996. So yeah, I spent from 95 to 2000.
Okay, and let me ask you a question because you were in the best era of music.
I was.
You were in the best,
bro. It was like a dream. Seriously,
you met a lot of people. Imagine
everybody.
So, what took you to the switch? Like, why did you want exactly what that person told you not to do to switch the whole career? Why you switched in 2000?
Things happen, right? Mm-hmm. So, how it's funny how fate has it though, right? Because I was in line to be. I wanted to be a music executive. I convinced myself, my life, I'm going to be a music executive. I'm going to be a vice president. I'm going to run a label, something like that, right? Mm-hmm. So everything was going according to plan. I was getting promoted. I was meeting people. Everything was working, and then so I got my one big break. I got an interview to replace Puff at the record company. What the heck is the name of the record company now? At MCA Uptown Records. So I go to interview. I got the interview to replace him because he had just left, and I got to the third interview. So I was one of the finalists.
You were in the line.
Yeah, I was online, but come to find out, he didn't hire me because he said I didn't have the private school background that Puff had, and that's what he wanted. That. So I was like, okay, I had everything else, but I just didn't have that.
Private school.
Yeah.
Interesting. In the world of New York, I guess that's important.
No, you know what it is? I think he was trying to get a duplicate. You know, he wanted the next Puff. Like, you know, and he figured, I'm not gonna reinvent the wheel. Let me get everything that all the tangibles that he had. He had some street. He had some swagger. Mm-hmm. He was good with people. He was hardworking, and he had a private school education, which made him smart. So I think those intangibles, he just said, is my guess. That
it makes sense because you're dealing with a music industry that was majority rap and street music.
Right.
So you had to have that little understanding of what they were talking, how they act, their respect, etc., so on and so forth. You also needed to have the knowledge of like education and how the business works and how to turn the street into business, because at the end of the day, everything needs to make sense for everybody. But that part of the private school, that's interesting that he didn't overlook that part.
I know. I was shocked as well. But when you look at that, you look and say, wow, the universe God is definitely perfect, because he knew that wasn't the right way. So I end up staying in the music business
with Sony.
With Sony. Then at Sony, what happened was one of my coworkers there got promoted to another company, and he ended up recruiting me and getting me an interview, and I ended up going there. So I ended up going to MCA Records after that.
Nice. So
that
you've been through a couple of music.
Yeah.
companies.
So that lineup was crazy because I went from a Sony lineup, which was good, but then I went to this lineup, which was crazy. And over there, it was very interesting because I was the only minority that handled all music.
Oh, wow.
Because over there, it was very segregated. People that did rock, people that did hard rock, alternative, country, R&B, rap.
Everybody was in their
own little groups. I was a marketing manager. I had all the artists. So the interesting part that, we had the New York market. So every artist got to come here. Mm-hmm. So whether one of my rock bands are in town, or whether BB King's in town, or Mary J. Blige's in town, or this person's in town, I'm obligated to like being with them, or or being around or doing something. So That was really interesting.
So now that, bringing in a little bit part of the marketing, how was the marketing for the music industry before we jump into the real estate side that you changed completely? How was the marketing done for the music industry back then in the 2000s? Like, what was
then,
the focus?
see, my main focus was marketing at the retail level.
Okay.
Right. So what that entailed was
in the stores.
What that entailed was.
We'll be back after this brief messages. I'm just kidding.
my alarm. Anyway, so back then, what was important to us was having a relationship with the stores, because
people will go buy the CDs and cassettes at the stores. Where am I?
Your placement was important, right?
When people walk into the store, am I by the front door or am I in the corner in the back?
Yeah, exactly. Okay. And then on top of that, how many do you have?
Also, because if you sell 400, I want you to have 5 or 6 just in case you have available, and I can continue selling my tape instead of having less. Because that's another thing. You guys had to invest a lot on stock to be able to supply the stores with the tapes and the mixtapes and everything else, right?
Right. Well, yeah, that was an order. The salesperson took the order, but the marketing. Well, our job was we kind of like the setup man. So my job was let's say you ran back then, it was all these franchises. So it was like HMV,
Radio
Shack. It was Tower Records, HMV. Nobody Beats the Biz, so a lot of CDs, and then you had a lot of these mom and pops. So anyway, so with that, we had the relationship. So now I would take you out to concerts and stuff, and then that would help when my sales rep came in. They'd be like, "Yo, Cesar, we want you to take. We know you normally take 500 Mary J. Blige. We want you to take 1,000 Mary J. Bliges this time. This album's going to be way bigger. We're already getting mad spins. It's already really hot on the top 10. So that kind of thing, right? So we would do that. I would like set them up.
Okay. Well, basically we kind of do the same thing today. Like, for example, if we're gonna come out with something on Friday, we hype it up, and then when the product comes out on Friday on social media, people already know because we're just hyping it up during since Monday. The same thing was with the music. You guys will hype up a song. The song will get to number 1 in the top, let's say 10 or 100, right? It will get there number 1, number 10, and then people will rush into the store, buy the CD or buy the cassette because they wanted to hear the full album because they loved that song they heard on the radio, and then that's how you guys were able to get the sales.
Exactly. That's exactly how it was. And if they did like a television appearance or whatever, you saw a spike, like a huge spike.
Really?
Huge.
So sell out stuff and
huge
so
spikes.
That's why. Is that why the industry with this? We'll go back into this our current world, but is that why the industry? The shift of social media is hitting them so hard because meaning streaming, social media, YouTube, because before they had, so we're going to visit CNBC this day because the album's going to come out on this day. And then nobody else is coming out with an album because we got all the top A-list artists. So nobody's going to compete with our album because we can control when their album comes out. And now having people who can just throw out a song. I know you probably see a lot of reels on Instagram, but Golden Hour? Mm-hmm. It's your golden hour. That song? That's a kid. That was a kid who just started playing piano in high school. The teacher told him no. He threw out the song. The song became famous worldwide.
Wow.
And he's independent. You coming from the music industry, you know how hard it is to get a song to become number 1.
Oh.
So for record labels, it's hard for them to understand. Do you see that issue them having as a marketing person?
Everything is different now. Everything's completely different with the it's you know what I related to? I related to when I first started real estate, where you needed to come to us to find out about a house that was coming out or that was out, right? Now you go look on Zillow first before you even come to me.
Exactly. You already know what house you want.
You already know what house
by
you
the
want.
time you
come to me, right? Now, same thing with music. Back then, you'd have to wait to see the album was going to come out. They released a single. Nobody heard the album. Mm-hmm. You leak it. You get it out. You get some traction on the single. Mm-hmm. and then you feature the album, and then you have a in-store where they come and sign it, and that's when you're getting your first take on the album. But nowadays, it's just leaks and everything's out.
So is it because, is that the reason why some albums never came out? Because if the single didn't do well, the album will get scratched because they thought it wasn't going to be good? Sometimes
if they didn't get the right spins on that album, I mean on that single, they didn't think the album was going to do much because that was in their opinion that was the best single on the album. And if that ain't getting it, what's the other rest is going to do?
Imagine that. Imagine the millions of songs that never came out.
Right. That's why Nas did that years ago. He did a Lost Tapes album, which everything that didn't make his album, so he put it on one album.
Because nobody, he still owned them, so he could do it.
Right.
Yeah. No, imagine that's crazy. And now that you give a little snippet into the real estate world, you came into real estate when there was no Zillow, barely dial up. Remember that dial up sound? That's when you came into the real estate world?
When I came into the real estate world, it was about magazines, houses in magazines.
Okay. Especialito?
Especialito was just coming out like a little bit after that. It was Homes in the States magazine. That's still I think you still see.
I see it. Yeah, I still see it.
Right. So you had that, and then you had Especialito, but more people were using mainly Homes in the States. You had to come into our office and sit in a little booth, and then we would look at the properties and show you and say, hey, look, these are the properties that are there. That seems like so ancient now.
Yeah, completely. You know about a property in a minute. If the property's in contract, you already know by the second.
Yeah,
which will happen with all this crazy stuff.
It's live.
So, why did you switch again from real estate the music to real estate?
It wasn't like that. I didn't switch from real estate to I didn't switch from music to real estate. In music, what happened is I got caught up in the beginning of the mergers. Because they started merging, because they started seeing that it was going to shrink, right? So the big guys, one big company would buy another company out and merge with them. So they did a big merger when I was there. So they gave me a severance package, and then I lost my position, got deleted, right? So I ended up going to another real estate record company and working with them for a few years. But then it wasn't like the same, and I saw it was dying. You know, it was starting to die, and I just started looking ahead because I'm like, well, if I wanted to be an executive, I don't know if I want to be an executive because now that merger woke me up because I was like, yo, wait a minute,
I could lose it in a minute,
right? Exactly. I said I don't want to be a giant executive,
and then Sony comes buys that company,
and then I'm gone. And here I got mortgages and family and everything, and now you're gonna lay me off. So I said to myself, wait a minute, I might have to pivot here. I might have to look and see what I could do. So then that wasn't it. So then I said, all right, what can I pivot to? So I started thinking. So you know what I ended up doing? I ended up getting a recruiter, an employment recruiter.
Oh wow!
Right. So then she started sending me on interviews
to see your options.
You see my options, to see what was out there. So nothing crazy was out there.
At that time, were you living in New York or here in Jersey?
I was living in Jersey.
Okay, so you had to commute.
I was living in Jersey City because I graduated college and I lived in Jersey City because I wanted the easy commute to New York. So I didn't have a car or anything. I would commute to New York and everything. Yeah. So now I got this recruiter, and the funny part is look how fate works, right? She calls me one day and says, "Yo, do me a favor. This ain't even like a job for you. It's just do me a favor. I need to get my numbers up. I need to get people over there. Go over there and check out this job for me. Just go interview for me." She says, so
I can have the record that you went.
Right.
Even though they don't hire you, it's just that you went.
Just go. So and I felt like she would look at me out. So I said, I kind of owe her. Let me look her out. I go to this place. It turns out to be an airport advertising firm. So they what they did was they sold billboards at all the airports.
Nice.
Right? So they had this. So I go there and I'm like, wow, this is kind of interesting.
I'm interested in this.
Yeah, this is, and another thing, I was like, God, this might be what I was praying for. Like, this is an alternative to music. It's like music, like television, but it's advertising.
And it's in your field.
It's kind of in my field, in my communications field. I'm a communications major. So I was like, advertising. I was like, this is advertising and marketing. I think I could deal with this. So I go there, I interview well, and they loved me. And they offered me the job. And I was like, word? So I was like, I was like, all right, I'll give this a shot. So I was with them for a while, and I was the one that went to, like, I had to go to JFK and I had to go to LaGuardia all the time. So I had a company car. I would go over there. I got the badge and everything. I would go behind and I would have to look at all the signs, all our signage.
Make sure they're good.
Make sure they look good at where they are.
That the clients pictures. That are on, they're still on.
Right. Send them a report.
Every month, you basically charge them again. If they don't pay again or they say, I want to finish, you have to take them off and put a new one there.
Yeah. We don't, a company comes and does that. But we just sold.
You supervise.
I supervise, sold the spaces. And then what happened was shortly after that, they came out with a Jet Bridges marketing. Somebody came out and said we should do a Jet Bridges marketing campaign, which is once you go on the plane, the bridge to go on the plane. Now when you see advertising on there, we started that. That was a Jet Bridge advertising. It was a wrap.
When you're going down to get into the plane, right? The ramp.
The ramp inside that gets you right into the plane. Yeah, that ramp.
That one.
Yeah, that's called the Jet Bridge.
Waiting,
right.
So there's ads. I imagine those are expensive there.
Yeah, they were expensive. It's a big wrap. It's a giant wrap. Mm-hmm. So you got that. You got baggage claim. You got coming out of baggage claim. You got throughout the airport.
I never thought of that.
Right? I me either. I
never thought that, like, as a company, let's say as me, right? Where would I be best positioned? Let's say as a marketing company, right? Where would be best positioned in an airport, right? Are you be best positioned in the food area? Are you best positioned going into the plane? Are you best positioned in the luggage coming out? Am I even good at the airport? Maybe I'm good in a cab. You know what I'm trying to say?
Or even the sign right outside the airport, going to the airport. See, it depends on the business you're in, right? And more importantly, it depends on what client you're trying to attract. So a lot of our clients, like, look, so the way we had it according to categories. Okay. Right? So a couple of my clients were like credit cards, companies, so like Visa. Visa wanted to be everywhere.
Of course,
right?
They would just brand awareness.
Right. And you're talking about them, and then MasterCard wants to be like right behind them.
Yeah,
right.
Because MasterCard was first, right? Yeah, exactly. So Visa was trying to get brand awareness, and MasterCard was saying, "Hey, we're still here."
Right. So they would battle that out, and then a lot of our clients were business clients. So like they were going after the business traveler. So where's the business traveler? That person's coming in and out of the plane. That person's going to the lounge. So you got to figure that out. And then the bosses, and you got the baggage claim, they're getting their bags.
What if you had to name 3 or 4 categories of like the businesses that were there? Which ones were those?
Credit cards, consulting, like Deloitte and Touche was a big client of ours. Fragrances. So they were smart because what they did was they liked the international traveler.
Because they didn't get those products over there, so they'll buy it here and take them to their countries.
Probably, but I think more because in international travel, you have duty free. So you can buy the fragrant right there.
And you're saving a couple bucks from the duty free.
Yeah, you're saving it, and it's almost advertising it, and it gives you that world appearance. Because then you come here, you say, okay, this is what United States people are using.
Imagine that, right? So like bringing it to like the world that we live in today. You, as a company, you had to imagine where you need to be for your client to see you. Today, you just got to do a post on social media, and your client is right there.
Right there, I know.
And it's also how much was one of just a billboard outside of the airport? How much did it cost back then?
Right outside the airport, it had to be like
give me an estimate.
10 to 15,000.
For how long?
For a month.
Okay, people. So 10 or 15,000 for 1 month for billboards. Right now, you put 10 or 15,000 in social media, you can't handle the volume.
You can't.
And,
I mean, and back then you would have a package deal, so they would throw in other ones, but still, it doesn't even match. It doesn't even, the branding and everything doesn't even match. And mind you, these are companies that had giant marketing budgets where this was only a portion of their budget.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? So they were a lot of other places.
Who right now in the way the world is today, right? It's easier to be in front of customers. But the reason why people are not in front of customers is because they don't have the knowledge or the education on how to do it. Now, here's a question for you. Why do you think those companies like Toyotas, the Pepsi's, the Coca-Colas haven't turned off their marketing budgets on TV and switch it completely to social media? Because that's the reason why it's still cheap.
Right. What you asking me? Why do I think they haven't?
From coming from that field, because as me, I got into marketing already in the social media era.
Right.
Facebooks, the high fives, the MySpace. So I grew up looking at this. But you coming from that world, why do you think that they haven't decided to put the switch? Because as soon as the Toyotas and the Fords and all these big corporations with very big marketing budgets decide to use social media only, that's billions of dollars that's going to come into the to social media. And then we, the little guy who puts $100 and gets 5-10 leads, he's not going to get anything because it's going to cost $100 per lead.
See, my theory on that is that television is still television. It still has
value.
It still has the impact power that social media still hasn't caught up to yet. Television. See, I didn't know how strong television was until I was in the music business. See, television, I mean, let me put it to you this way. You could have an album come out and the album could literally die. And you could do an appearance on our Arsenio Horse show and sing that day, and the next day we wouldn't have enough CDs in the store. The next day. That's how strong, that's how powerful television is.
Do you know?
You couldn't do that in social media.
Let me ask you a question. Do you know Mr. Beast?
Yeah.
Okay, so imagine that album comes out on Mr. Beast. How many downloads would it get?
Yeah, that you have to be a Mr. Beast for that.
But that's what I'm saying. They're being created in different. Look at the Kardashians. How much does Kim charges for a post? $1.2 million.
Yeah, but now you got to reverse engineer that. Kim to charge that much for a post because she's popular from television. See what I mean?
Jaque mate.
That's why.
That's a good point. She did grow her following
from
in the magazines, then the TV.
Yeah. Well, really, her fortune was made in the television.
In television, on E. Yeah.
Yeah, television.
On E, definitely.
That's what that.
Still broken glasses. But now, so you flipped from the music industry.
Yeah. So then now, I'm working at this advertising company, right? So now I get promoted. Now they want me to do sales. So I was just doing marketing. I was like a
You were supervising, making sure all the marketing was proper.
Now they wanted me to do sales. So now I'm handling clients, taking them out, saying, hey, this is what you should do, selling campaigns.
Let's go to the airport. Look, this is where you will be.
So now I handled Orlando.
Oh, wow.
JFK.
So you had
Texas.
to travel too.
I had to travel and everything. Yep. I would go out to those places. Just to see what what was going on in those things. And then what happened was I said to myself, so I still was really weary of the whole thing of me getting the merger in music. It was still messing with me.
You kind of want to go back.
No, it was still messing with me that the merger happened. So I was like, yo, what if something like that happens again?
Here.
Anywhere. Like I feel insecure now.
You don't have control.
I feel insecure. I feel like, yo, I need more security.
Yeah.
So that's when I said, you know what? I stumbled across real estate, to be honest with you. I stumbled across it by accident. I'll tell you the story. Real estate, I'm with my girlfriend at the time. We're going to get an apartment. So we're walking to the apartment to go see it. As we're walking there, I saw a sign that said moving sale in this building. So I go, look. And she was like, what? What does that mean? I'm like, moving sale. She's like, and? I'm like, that means they're moving. They might have stuff that they want to sell that we could buy to take to our new apartment. She's like, oh, I didn't even think of that. We go into the building, and inside the building, it has the bell of the person. So I ring their bell. So I'm like, I ring their bell, and they answer. And then I was like, yeah, we got the sign here for moving sale. We want to see what you guys have for sale. It's like, oh, we got a whole bunch of stuff. Come upstairs and check it out. We go upstairs. This apartment was nice.
Where was that apartment?
In Jersey City.
Okay.
Jersey City, in one of those older buildings.
Oh, wow.
So we go in there, and we like, oh my God, this apartment is nice. Mm-hmm. So we're like, you guys are leaving? It's like, yeah, we're going to Atlanta. They were in the music business. We were in the music business. So we kind of hit it off.
Oh, wow.
So they were like, you know what? We're going to recommend you to our landlord. They call up the landlord and it's like, yo, we recommending our friends for this apartment.
Oh, wow.
So they put us on the phone with the landlord. So I'm talking to the guy, and he's like, yeah, you come highly recommended because we love them and this and that. But I already advertised for an open house this Saturday. So it's already in the paper. I got to do the open house. So he said, "Well, just come around. We'll see everybody, and then you got like I said, you guys got recommended highly, so you got favor.
You may keep it,
bro." That phone call changed my whole life. That phone call changed my life
because of the open house.
Because of the open house.
So what happens? You come back for the open house.
I walk into this building for the open house,
and it's full.
It's full. It was 30 people there.
And back then it was advertised in the newspaper, so people saw it there.
Yup.
And if they said 3:00, they were there at 3:00.
No, it blew my mind. Like I had no idea that many people would want to come for one place.
That was in 2000.
That was in 19. That had to be in 1998 or something like that.
Oh wow.
Yeah, because don't forget, it took me a while to get this. It took me a while, not a while, but it took me a little while to get classes and everything,
the license
and all that. Yeah. So now I show up at this open house, and I'm like, oh my God! I'm like, this many people for one apartment? Mm-hmm. I'm like, real estate must be
rental.
For a rental, one rental apartment. Mm-hmm. And I'm thinking, all it said to myself was, real estate must be good. Is what I said. I had no idea, nothing about real estate. I didn't know nothing about real estate.
At that time, it wasn't sexy or attractive.
It was not.
So not a lot of people were doing it. So a lot of transactions were going on that one person was handling a lot of transactions.
Yeah, that's what that was, because it wasn't really, it wasn't popular at all. Like the information wasn't even out what to do, right? Unless you knew somebody, you didn't even know. So I didn't know nothing about real estate. So now my brain keeps telling me, oh my God, real estate must be good. Real estate must be good. So now I leave there, and I'm walking the whole time, and all my brain could think of is real estate must be good. So I go home, and I talk to my uncle, and I'll tell him the story. And I'm like, you wouldn't happen to know how to get into real estate, would you? And he's like, no, not at all. So I'm like, all right. So he's like, what, matter of fact, I see ads in the newspaper, though, for school or whatever. So I was like, oh, for real? I was like, okay. I hang up with him. I go to sleep. I wake up the next morning. I worked in Manhattan. On my way into work,
got a paper.
I see paper every day. I never even picked it up ever. I say, you know what? He said it might be a thing, and I grab the paper. I buy the paper. I go to my job. I sit down. I open up the newspaper. I go through it. Sure enough, there's a giant advertising for Coldwell Banker. Will pay for your school for free.
Oof.
Boy, I cut that out. I called him right there on the spot. I was signed up the next week.
And you took your courses, got your license.
I took my course, got my license, and the rest is history. 22 years later, it changed my whole life.
And why did you end up in Passaic or in Passaic County? Because basically handling more Bergen County and Passaic County, right?
Yeah. All right. The reason of that was because, well, you know what? It was my cousin. That's the reason why I handed it, because I lived in Jersey City. I was going to go do real estate in Jersey City.
It would have been Union City, right?
No, Jersey City.
No, I'm saying, but isn't that part of Union City?
Yeah, no, Union City is near there, but Union City, West New York, Weehawken, and all that stuff.
What county is?
That's Hudson.
Hudson County.
Hudson County.
That's what I was getting confused with, because Union City is there. So I was.
Right. Yep.
Hudson County would have been
where I was gonna go. Mm-hmm. But my cousin at the time, he was in real estate, and he was like, "Bro, what are you talking about? You coming over here with me?" And my cousin was here in Clifton.
Okay.
So he was like, "What you talking about?" He's like, "You ain't." Because I was gonna go interview all these places. He was like, "What you interviewing for?" Because you're gonna come work over here. You're gonna come over here and work with me.
So you were literally a couple blocks from here.
Yep, I lived a couple blocks away in Clifton at Nicholas Real Estate.
Oh wow! So from there, you now you have your license. How do you become an investor? Because that's another thing that I heard.
All right, so this is the other thing. I had my job at the advertising company. So I did it for security. I said so what I said was, I want to buy a house or two. I wasn't gonna be a salesperson. Oh. I got my license so I can buy a house or two, so that I can have the money in case I get laid off or something. I got money coming in. This is what I was thinking.
You were getting rental income.
I just wanted to get rental. I don't even know where I got that from, because nobody had ever told me that. Nobody ever showed me that. Nothing.
Because maybe if the apartment you were seeing, the landlord was getting rental, and you were like, okay, how can I do the same?
I'll be honest with you. I can't even say that was. I don't know. Yes. All I know is that's what my brain thought. That I said, let me get a house or two, So and mind you, at that time I'm thinking a house because I don't think that I don't.
The lights are my bad. Sorry, the lights are killing me right now.
And
I'm used to doing this.
You ended up looking up at them or something?
Yeah. That's why it killed me for a second. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no worries.
Leave it just like that.
so the human element. So I end up thinking, okay, I'll just get an investment property, and I got my job, and then that way
you got a backup.
I got a backup plan, right? That's all I thought. I didn't even think it through that much, right?
Wow.
So now I'm coming in on the weekends to the office, and all I'm doing is looking up houses on the MLS for me to buy. So
not even to get sales.
No, that it wasn't even to get it. It didn't even cross my mind to get sales or anything, right? Because I'm thinking I got my job, so I don't even know if I can do this.
Security.
I don't know anything. I don't know that I could do it on the side, whatever. Anyway, so I come. And I started looking at houses on the MLS, and I'm like, So I started looking at Passaic, and I started looking at Passaic. Obviously, I'm from Passaic, so I'm thinking Passaic.
Of course.
But then I'm looking at Passaic, and then I'm looking at Patterson, and I'm like, is it me? Patterson's way cheaper and almost the same rent.
And it's not that far, yeah.
It's almost, but I didn't care the distance. I'm like, it's almost the same rent. Once I started doing my research. I'm like, if I get Section 8 in Patterson, it's almost the same or better rent than I'm getting in Passaic, and I'm paying like half.
And you're secure with Section 8.
So I ended up getting a real good relationship with Section 8. I ended up going over there constantly, bringing them lunch, being their friend. I knew everybody there. So now I started putting on now I put my tenants in Section 8. Long story short, I ended up doing so much research for myself that I became like a walking encyclopedia because I knew every house inside out because I was going to see every house. I knew who the owner was. I knew how much the rent was for me. So now, once I bought my house, I was like, damn, I got all this information left.
I need to use it.
I need to use that. So you know what? Maybe I'll sell a house or two.
And you started getting buyers.
And I started calling my friends. Like,
you want a house?
Yeah, I'm in real estate now.
Want a house?
And sure enough, I've never been slow. So I started real estate. I've never been slow.
Even in the 08 thing?
I'll fast forward. We'll go there in a second, but yeah, not even in that. I'll tell you why then. But
okay,
yeah. So it was that kind of thing. I ended up buying that, and I ended up buying two houses right back to back.
Oh wow! And at that time, I imagine the purchase price was 70,000-80,000.
The funny part is, I was buying two houses. My first two houses, I got up under contract. One was 65, the first one. And the second one was 75, right?
I'm not even gonna dare to ask you.
The 65 one, the owner said, "Nah, forget it. We're under contract and everything." And he's like, "Nah," he just disappeared, like just never answered again. So the realtor tells me, "Yo, man, you're not gonna believe this, but the seller does not want to take my calls. I don't think anything's gonna happen."
Oh wow!
Call. So I guess he called. I guess he decided, no, he's the guy. I don't know if he thought I was gonna take advantage. I don't know what he thought, right?
But then,
he disappeared. So now that deal goes away. So I find the next house. The seller did the same thing to me again. So he didn't want to sell either once we're under contract. And I'm like, what is going on here? So little did I know, this was all God. God was orchestrating. He didn't want me to have those two.
Because they were bad.
They were a little more than I would have probably been able to handle.
At that time.
Because
you didn't have the knowledge.
I didn't have the knowledge. I didn't have the skills. I didn't have the money.
You knew how to find the house, but you didn't know how to, for example, fix it, any issue, structure, whatever. You were not educated on that yet.
Not yet. Mm-hmm. So lo and behold, don't you know, I end up getting this. So now the third house comes around. The first one was 65. The second one was 75. Everything at that time was 65 to 95. 95 was an expensive house back then.
Yeah,
that was expensive. That was like, yo, that's
be
like...
careful.
Yeah, that's like borderline, like, yo.
That's like 600, 700 now.
You think you in Beverly Hills or something? Like, so 95,000. So I never forget it. This one house catches my eye. The house is 105.
Oh, wow. So that was like...
105. That was like out of here.
That's like, no,
so
I
end up buying it. I end up contracting for it and getting it. My cousin, who's in real estate, who's my mentor at the time, he's like, "But what the hell are you doing? Why would you pay 105, nigga? You got jerked. Like, why would you pay that? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, everything is 60 and 75. Why are you paying?
Why would you go to the most expensive price?
Why would you go to that number? Like, why would you go there? You could have got another house. Mm-hmm. But I'll be honest with you, I felt comfortable. That house had two Section 8 tenants in it already.
So you didn't have to get tenants.
I didn't have to get tenants.
You already got some value there.
They already was paying good rents. Mm-hmm. Everything was in place. I didn't have to do the other 2 hours. I got off for 65, 75, but I was gonna have to do work. I was gonna have to do construction. I didn't have a lot of money. Mm-hmm. I was gonna have to learn construction, do construction, pay for it, figure out getting the tenants,
found it for a couple months.
Yeah, all that. So I'm like, you know what? It turned out to be okay. So I end up getting this house, and mind you, but I never forget the first day I went to pick up rent. Bro, I was so nervous. I couldn't even count the money right. I counted like 3 times in front of them, and I was like, you know what? I think I'm gonna go count in my car. I said, I trust you. I put it in my pocket. I go back to my car, and I put it on the counter in my car. I'm counting the whole thing. I'm like, oh, it's all here. Yo, right there, it hit me. I was like, yo, I can't believe they just gave me $1,100, and this ain't no drug deal. This is legal. I couldn't believe it, bro. Because I'm a street dude.
How much was the rent from that time?
That time, the tenant upstairs was paying $1,400.
$1,400 in the 2000?
Yep, because it was a 4-bedroom apartment.
Oh,
it was a 4-bedroom apartment, 2 bath. So she was paying $1,400, and downstairs was paying $11.
So you're talking about you were making 25 at that time. I was making
25, and my mortgage was like 9.
So you were cash flowing 16.
Hold on a second.
Yeah, 25 minus 9 is 16. You know what?
Yeah, I think.
That's crazy.
Yeah, something like that. Either hers was 14 or 12 or something like that.
So your mortgage was paid for with that?
Oh, yeah. No, the first floor paid the mortgage, and the other one's mine. Yeah, the first floor paid the mortgage, and the other one was mine. Because it was between $900 and $1,000. So now I'm understanding your whole logic, right? Let me go and give you a little chronology. So like I say, right, when you were in college, right, you're from Passaic. Passaic was a good town. It was a working town, but at the same time, it was still hood in a way. You had people here from the hood, right? Yeah. So you grew up with that environment of people. Then you go into corporate, work in the music industry, jump into that world, and then having to find other securities because you basically got laid off or gave a severance package because they merged the company. You jump into the advertising world for airports. And then you're like, okay, and you go to look for an apartment, you find that next step of security that you were looking for, and when you did your first rentals and you got that rental income, you were like, wow, this was easy. Right.
That's what was shocking to you, how easy.
What was shocking to me was that people were actually willing to pay you that amount of money for them to where they live at. That was shocking to me, and it was legal. that was just super shocking to me.
But I mean, you were paying rent, right?
I was paying rent, but I never.
You never put it together.
You know why? Because I'm living in Jersey City in a condominium, so I'm not.
You're not putting it together.
I've never lived in a 2-family house in my life. Here, I live in a building. Over there, I live in a building. Mm-hmm. So it's like a building mentality, right? You're not thinking.
You had an apartment. You were just thinking, I have a little spot, but this is a house with 2 units.
Right.
And this person's paying 15 or 14, and this person is paying 11, and I'm cash flowing 14. No, 16.
Yep. And I was like, what is this? I said, this is crazy. This is nuts.
And then you just went crazy after that.
I ran and bought a BMW. I went and got me a brand new BMW right after that. Cause you think about it, the payment was paid for.
That's true.
It was paid.
You were paid. Your rent was paid.
Yeah.
And then your car was paid, and you still got money.
And back then, my bills were low. My rent was $500.
Oh yeah, for the condominium.
I had a studio condo in Jersey City.
Oh, you didn't have a big.
Because I wasn't making a lot of money.
That makes sense. Okay.
But then I do that, and I'm like, what the heck? And the funny part, right before I bought that, one of my friends had put me up on some deals in Baltimore, Maryland. No money down. They actually paid you to close. So you would go to the closing, they would pay you $1,500, and then they would manage the property for you.
Beautiful days.
I bought 2 or 3 of those right off the bat. So I already had those 3 properties when I went to buy this one.
Oh wow! So now you're talking about that you had in total 3, 4, 5 properties.
I want to say I was making like $500 a month on them, $300 a month, something like that on each one of those. And then I had this, so I was like, oh yeah, I'm good. That's when I was like, you know what, I could quit my job pretty much, but I didn't quit yet. I said I could if I want to.
No, you already felt secure.
Yeah, I felt secure. I was like, oh, this is good stuff.
And then from there, you jumped into When is it that you finally make the switch?
This is when I made the switch. I'm showing a house to guys around the corner from my house. It was a 2-family house. Mm-hmm. So I'm on the MLS and I'm looking at it, and it was on the MLS for a while. So I'm looking at it, I'm like, man, this house look pretty good. Finished basement, two-family house.
You're already seeing the rental.
I'm seeing the rental. I'm like, I said, let me go check this one out. I go to the house. The owner lived on the first floor.
Okay.
He was selling because he wanted to move to Clifton.
Interesting.
He had tenants upstairs. It was a 4-bedroom upstairs. Upstairs he had four girls that lived there. So they all had their own room. They shared it.
Okay. So it was.
And then in the basement he had this Dominican handyman, this Dominican dude. So he walked me through the whole house. I'm like, this house is dope. And he's leaving? So that means I would have them, and then I would put the new people in here. I put Section 8 in here. I'm like, this can work. So, but mind you, I can't buy it. I got no money. So I'm saying, all right, so I just got the information. So now I start showing that to my clients. I never forget it. It was these group of investors with like 3 of them. So they come, I show it to them. So as I'm showing it to them, now I'm breaking down the proposed rent. I'm breaking down the whole plan. I'm like, yo, he's leaving. You put Section 8 in here at $1,300. Upstairs, you could raise their rent or get a new tenant up there. You're probably going to get like $1,400 up there. Because I'm getting $1,400 for the same apartment around the corner. And then down in the basement, my man was paying $500. So I do the math and I'm telling them, and they're like, oh, okay, we'll let you know. I'll never forget it. I looked at it and said, yo, is this right?
The numbers make sense.
The numbers were like crazy. I was like, yo, these numbers are kind of crazy or what? So I do them again. I go to my car and I'm like, yo, if they don't want this house, I got to find a way to get this house. These numbers are slamming. Sure enough, bro, I started brainstorming. I bought that house.
What do? You refi something?
No, you know what? How did I do it? I don't remember how I did it, but I did it. I don't remember how. And mind you, I had just bought that one, so the FHA, I had just used it.
So you did at the conventional?
Nope, I did FHA too, right there. It hadn't reported yet, and I closed right before it reported. So I got 2 FHA.
That won't happen now.
No, not
that
now.
won't happen now, people.
Not now.
In the internet fast speed era, that won't happen now.
Because of me, probably they changed that rule.
Or 2008.
Thank God there's no FHA police, because I could be convicted right now.
You know, the other day I was in a seminar, at one seminar, and somebody said, "There's no FHA police." Then I went to another seminar and I was like, somebody was talking about, oh, but what if I don't live in the house? La la la. And then I'm like, there's no FHA police. And now look at you saying the same thing. There's
no, but you know, there's definitely.
But those are things that no longer happen.
There's definitely an FHA police, but
there is.
Yeah. They follow up on those. They can follow up on those things.
And they will know.
Yeah, I'm saying no. Yeah, they like now they can go to your house and look at your. They can knock on your door and they can knock and look for you, or they could look at the mailbox and see if your name is on there. They could do that for sure.
So let's say they knock on your door to go in. For example, if they don't see any pictures of you, then they're like, you don't live here.
They could say you don't live there. Yeah.
So there is an FHA police.
Yeah, there is. No, definitely there is. It's just you just don't see it enough. It's like being in the Bronx back in the day. You know there's cops, but you never see them. You know what I'm saying? Like that.
We need the black cars, the cars that nobody knew who it was.
Exactly.
So, yeah. So
then...
disclosure. We're not recommending you to do any of this. We just, for educational purposes.
Yep. And it was just, back then, I didn't know what I was doing. It was
a
mistake. It was a mistake. It wasn't even...
It was a mistake that worked in your favor.
It worked in my favor, for sure.
Because you didn't know that at that... So what happens?
All right, so now I end up buying this house.
Uh-huh.
Now this house was $99,000. I ended up giving them $95,000 and they took it. So I go right. So the owner moves out. I go right into that first floor and I start doing it. Mind you, I don't know nothing about construction. I'm putting on stick-on tiles. I'm trying to paint. I got my brother and my cousin trying to help me. They don't know how to do anything. We're like doing it. We did the best we could, and I ended up getting somebody like to finish the job. So I finished the whole apartment. I ended up putting a tenant in there. Section 8, $1,300. Upstairs, there were 4 girls that lived up there in a 4-bedroom apartment. They were paying $500 for a 4-bedroom. I'm like, yo. So I said, listen.
This is what it is.
I'm going to raise your rent, right? I'm not going to go crazy on you. I'm not going to put it to market value, but I do need something decent. So I'm going to raise it to like $1,000, $1,100. Right? It's sense. For you guys. Come on. It's a
200
big apartment.
apiece.
So in theory, they came. They said, yeah, we'll do that. We'll pay you $1,000 or $11,000. No problem. We'll do it. So I'm like, all right, that's going to be effective next month when I come back. So I come back next month, and I'm like, hey, all right. So they're like, hey, we want to tell you, we decided we're not going to pay the increase. I was like, what? They're like, yeah, we're leaving.
Okay.
I was like, okay, no problem. Pay me $500 this month, and you can leave. So they ended up paying me $500. They showing up, they left. So they leave. Now I go up in there and I'll start fixing and cleaning and everything. I stick another Section 8 person up in there for $1,400. So now I got 14, 13, and 5. I was netting $2,200 in my pocket. Right there, the first month when I did that, I said, I quit. I will not work no more. I said, no way. I said to myself, mind you, look at my mentality with it.
Because you're like, I just made my whole month paycheck in one freaking month. Let's say, for example.
That's what did it for me. At the time, I was making like $3,000, $3,500 a month working all month. I was just making 40
hours a week.
40 hours a week.
Without including commute.
And the commute and all that. I said, wait a minute. And I'm going to get 22? And I don't even got to wake up in the morning? I was like, get out of here. I was like, yo, I get a couple more of these. I said, I'm good. I'm done. I'm good.
Exactly.
I'm good. I didn't have a lot of bills either. I'm like, I'm good. So right there, I quit. I quit my job.
Then you started doing the what?
Then I started doing the sales because now I had no money.
You had to do it.
I couldn't keep buying. Mm-hmm. So then now I just started doing the sales just to keep me afloat until then. And I started liking the sales. So then the sales kind of got to me. And I was like, you know, I kind of like this. And then changing people's lives and then seeing them getting rental property, getting rental income and all
helping
that. And I became a specialist.
People,
educating them, telling them what. And I kept getting more educated, learning more about it. And, you know, and it just spiraled.
That's awesome. Because it's crazy. You were learning, and in the process of learning yourself, you figure out how this could benefit you and benefit other people. That's amazing.
And this changed my whole life. I've traveled a good amount. I've driven some nice cars. I've done a lot of stuff with this real estate money.
I can imagine. And so, do you currently own any of those properties?
Those properties I do not own. I ended up, I messed up and sold the first one prematurely to a friend of mine.
How long ago?
That one, I sold that one a long time ago. That one, I ended up selling it prematurely. I regret that one, selling that one.
I mean, anybody in the market that we had 6 months ago regrets selling any property.
No, and this was way before that boom, though.
Because if you would have stayed,
I would have had to held on to that for all that time. Yeah, I would have killed. I would have killed.
Oh my God, yeah.
And then the crazy part is the other one, the one that I was getting the 2,200 from, which is my gold mine, a game changer. I ended up selling that one because my client was asking me for it. And I was like, no, that one's not for sale. I said, it's not for sale. I'm not selling $2,200. Mm-hmm. He was like, yo, I'll give you any price you want. I want that house. So I was like, really?
Oh, that bad?
Hey, I was like, damn. I was like, in my mind, thinking, man, I could get another one if anything.
Yeah, because I know where to find them.
Once I did the numbers, I was like, damn, I'm gonna make damn near $100,000 if I sell him this house. Sure enough, I said, all right, let's go. You know, the funny part is, right?
We're talking about in the 2000s, right? All this was sold.
This was 2003.
Okay, so 3 years later, 3 years
later. Yep. So the funny part is, my plan was to sell that building to my girlfriend at the time, which was about to be my fiance, right?
As an FHA.
I was an FHA. I was gonna sell it to her, get my money out of it, and then we still got it. I'm thinking she's gonna be like, yes, no problem, babe. She was like, let me ask my father. I said, what? She was like, yeah, let me ask my father. I was like, okay. But I'm thinking, your father's going to say, yeah. She comes back to me, hey, you ever talked to your father? Yeah, he said I shouldn't do it.
Question, did her father used to be an investor?
No. Smart guy, but he worked 2 jobs. God rest his soul. He's passed away now. But so he told her not to do it.
That's the message I'm going to say on this. People just listen to the wrong people.
They really do.
Because she would have had let's just say you sold it to her a market value. Let's say you sold it to her at 125, whatever it was the market value at the time. She would have a property that would not cash flowing her $2,000, right? $2,000. Her dad was making that in a month. She would have been cash flowing from one property, but people don't think.
No, you know what? But then you gotta look at it too. God is perfect, and it worked out. It worked out the way it did. It worked out better for me without me realizing it. Because then we end up breaking up years later.
And you would have felt some type of way.
No, we would have had that property in the middle, like a child. It would have been in the middle, so you'd have had to do something with the property. You'd have to either sell it or do something anyway.
Got it.
And it would have been some kind of obligation with whatever I would have made from it, right? So mind you, you're only boyfriend and girlfriend at the time. So now she says no. So just to kind of get my, not revenge or anything, but just to get my point across, I invite her to the closing. So she comes to the closing with me. And I'm like, I sign all the paperwork and everything. And I'm like, and I get my check. And I'm like, look at this.
You could have got some
$94,570 profit.
back then. Because today that's like 200.
Right. And she was like, I'm out. She was like, she couldn't believe it. And I was like, that's what I was trying to get us to do so we could keep it. And I would have still had the house. And she was like, oh, now you see what I was trying to do? So she's like, I know I'm going to get some of that. I was like, no, you're not.
Of course not.
You're not
Why
going to
would you get some of that when I told you let's do it? You didn't want to do it.
Yeah, why? Right. I'm thinking, I'm not going to give you any of that because you didn't believe in me. You didn't believe in the whole move. I was trying to set it up for us to be straight.
You didn't have the proper trust at the time that we could have made money out of this. Wow.
Yeah, imagine we would have made the 94. Plus, I would have kept the house.
You kept the house.
Right now,
you have rental income.
Right, rental income. Then you wait. The market gets bigger. You can sell it later
and buy.
And you could be buying
with a 94.
With
and been partners together because you already.
Exactly.
I already trust you because you did this move with me.
Yeah, that's what I was looking at. So,
but it's also a teaching moment for you.
It was a teaching moment for me, and it worked out better. It worked out better because then you end up breaking up. You don't have that thing in the middle. All right, my money, I go this way, you go that way, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, so I go on with that. I end up going and buying other things, and that ended up launching everything, So it was a really good lesson.
Yeah,
A really good lesson.
So we're talking to the 03s. How many properties you had that time? Do you still have like the other ones?
I still had the 3 in Baltimore at the time, and I still had the other one that was up the street. The first one, I still had that one at that time. Then later on, I ended up selling that one, and then I ended up selling Baltimore like way later.
Okay, and then from there, like, you were doing sales, right?
I was doing sales, and I was buying here and there, and I would fix and sell, and and then I would get some for rental, leave it a little while, then sell it like that. So
how do you survive to 2007?
All right, so then 2007 comes, and I'm about to get married. Yeah, I'm
in the middle of this crazy.
No, it's 2007. It wasn't a crash or anything yet. It was 2007.
But, people were buying houses like crazy.
Oh, it was insane. It was 2005, 2006, 2007 was absolutely insane. It was to the point where I would go out to put a for sale sign on the property,
and it was sold.
And I would go put it out, and the person would drive up and say, "Hey, you put the house for sale?" I'm like, "Yeah, how much? 400 here, full asking price right now, right here." Signing up right here. I had contracts in my car back then. So I run to the car, get the contract, sign it right there, and you got a deal right there for putting the sign in the ground. That's how ill it was at that time.
It sounds like 2 years ago too.
The difference was 2 years ago, you had 20 people competing for the house. Back then, it was only that person. Because
nobody knew about it.
No, it's like there was way more inventory than people. That's what it was. There was a lot more houses for sale. Then like you look at now, there's a lot more people than houses for sale.
So I see what you're saying. So back then, it was just people paying whatever the price was done. This now is because the market had more capital and there was less product, which is houses. Then you were able to basically say, okay, 40 over asking price because you had the money to do the transaction. Versus back then, it was just jacking up prices like crazy.
And back then, all you had to do was have a pulse. They weren't qualified. Like, yo, Cesar, they're like, Cesar, you want to buy this house for $600 or what? What you do? Where do you work? What you do for a living? Oh, you
that qualifies.
Yeah. They're like, oh, podcasting. Oh, you make like $25,000 a month doing that, and then you do your marketing. You make like what, like $100,000 a month doing that? All right, we gonna put you pay like
we qualify you, and you pay the lowest rate.
You qualify. That's how it was. I'm not lying to you. I'm serious.
I know because
that's how it was.
I know because my aunt bought 3 houses and she didn't work.
That's crazy.
In Florida.
Yo, that's crazy.
Her house in the Everglades. I don't know if you know the Everglades, but I bet you know. The Everglades, a house was worth $575,000 in a flood area in Florida.
Oh my God.
So, I don't think I have to tell you more than that. She refinanced that house. That's the smartest thing she did. She refinanced all her houses, kept the cash.
Yeah. Wow. That was smart.
That's not the disclosure. This is just for educational purposes
only. Not for you to mimic and try this at home. Do not try this at home. Do not. Yo, so that was like, wow. That time period was crazy.
So you sold a lot of houses at that time?
Yeah, I sold a good amount of houses at that. I mean, I was selling houses. Like I said, I'd never been slow. So since I walked in 2000, I sold houses.
Because you understood the market, you understood marketing, sales.
And I had, I knew a lot of people from a lot of different walks of life. I had my own database. I'm like a walking database. You know? So I have a lot of connections.
That's another thing because you were in the music industry, so you had a big connection.
I had a lot of music connections. I had a lot of those people were my clients.
And a lot of them also wanted to invest their money because they were making money, but they weren't putting it anywhere. So you were able to educate them on what they could do with real estate because you were doing it yourself.
Yup. And they were seeing me doing it. And people were seeing what I was doing. They're like, yo, you went from nothing to a brand new BMW with rims and everything.
At that time, that was very influential.
And the crazy part is, as soon as I got the second house, I was like, I don't want the BMW no more. I was like, I want the Range Rover with the rims. So I got that with 20-inch spinning rims. I ended up giving the BMW to my brother. My brother was like, I'll take that. And my brother took it over. Yup. You
already know. Back then, with a Range Rover with spinning rims.
Oh, it was crazy.
That was what year?
That was 2003, 2004. 2004.
MTV, baby.
Yo, it was.
You remember that MTV Cribs?
Yeah, MTV Cribs era. Yeah.
MTV Cribs.
Yep, that's when that got popular. Yep, you're right.
And you're like, you park in the front of your house with the rim still spinning.
The rim spinning. I mean, I'm in Patterson and kids running up to the corner to see my rim spinning at the red light.
Legally, people.
It was absolutely crazy.
Let's point that out. It was legally because you had rental income.
Yeah, it was straight legal.
That was the other part, right? Because people that you grew up with were doing other type of things, and you were actually getting bread legally.
No, when I was young, I was doing illegal things. Forget them.
Disclosure. This is for educational purposes.
When I was young, I had no choice. I had no parents. I had no money. I had to survive. So I had to sell just to survive. So up to from middle school to college, I did what I had to do.
So back then, that also was a little more normal, right? When you weren't from part of different cities, if your house didn't have the income or your parents didn't have the job or whatever, you were used to do things to be able to survive.
I guess if you had the guts and stuff like that, 'cause a lot of people just and at the end of the day, look, I worked. I mean, I played sports, so I couldn't work a lot, right? So I'm in school, I'm playing sports. When I didn't play, when I had the off season of sports, I always worked.
Okay.
So I worked and hustled. So I hustled and worked all the time, all the way from.
So you used to do
school.
It just to get extra income.
Because I had to feed myself, clothe myself, because I wasn't getting supported. My mother died at 14.
Oh wow!
So I didn't have no parents. My dad was never there.
Oh wow!
And then my sister comes here from Colombia, God rest her soul, and she didn't really want to take care. She really didn't take care of me. So I had no choice. I had to, do what I had to do.
Wow.
And
and then we're talking, this is you are 14, 15 years old.
I'm 14 years old.
Here in Passaic.
Here in Passaic. 14, 15 years old. My mother died when I was 14.
Wow.
And from 14, 15, 16.
Where do you used to
17,
live?
Huh?
Where you used to live?
I live right here in Hamilton.
Wait, I'm saying you paid rent and everything yourself?
No. It was my sister's. It was the place that me and my mother lived. Okay. She came from Colombia. She was living in Colombia. She came from Colombia with her kids and moved into our apartment. Okay. So she was getting Social Security for me, for my mother dying, and she was getting welfare for her and the kids. So she paid the rent and all that and did that. And then,
but you still needed to eat.
I still needed to eat. I needed clothes. I needed
money to walk around, go to school,
that,
etc.
All of that. Yeah.
So that's why you had to do that, and then you also worked.
I also worked. So I worked at gas stations. I worked at Burger King. I worked at, and all summer I worked at factories.
So you always have done what you got to do to get things done.
Yeah. I know I wanted things. So I was never the one to sit back and
relax.
And chill out. Yeah, right. And feel sorry for myself or blame the world. Why God took my mother? Why I can't believe he would take my mother. I can't believe
you didn't have to. Thank you for going there. See, I know you were smart people, but you didn't. Like, the thing is, back then you didn't have the choice. Today people have, I'm gonna sit back and I feel bad about certain situations. If you didn't get out and work, you were gonna die.
Right.
Of hunger.
Right.
What happens is people now have so much options and security that they do it because they can get views on social media.
Yeah, right. It's a different struggle. The struggle is kind of like watered down.
But the struggle is it's to get likes, though. I feel like that.
No,
I feel like it's a struggle to show other people that, I'm struggling, feel bad for me.
Yeah, because once what happens when you're in that situation. And you play the victim card, you see how people come to your back. And that's the only time they come to your back. So you're like, what else can I do?
But you know something, and podcast number 10, episode 10, has this whole conversation. I went through depression. I almost committed suicide 2 to 3 times.
Oh, wow.
So, and I come from a great family. That's something, I always say that because I'm not looking for that part. What I'm trying to educate people on is like, the world that we live in here, when you pay attention to this, is why I'm so adamant about my son not touching the phone. Like, the world that you live through social media, in the beach, and this guy went touring this way, and this guy did that. That plays in your mind like, why can't I do that? He's 18 years old and he's doing it. But what we don't know is what's behind the scenes, right? Once I learned that it wasn't my turn, it wasn't my time, that I'm blessed because I have the fact that I'm here. For me, it's more important right now that I'm here in front of you and you're giving me your time to sit in my podcast and have a conversation about your life and about how you were able to build, and we can go back and forth and actually have a dialogue. That's more valuable to me than going to Ibiza, to put a country, for example. Because back then I used to give value to Ibiza and not value to the fact that I had a talent, we could say, or I maybe had that I needed to do my time. I've been working with my head down for 3 years trying to build this. I see it in 3 more years. Then I'll be able to go to Ibiza with no problem. But the kids these days, and me at that time, we feel so entitled. Like, I need that. I need to have the iPhone 14 because the 13 is already old.
Yeah.
It's the same shit.
Yeah.
Right? But at that time, when you have that kid mentality where you have had everything in the world, because my parents, loved them, they took care of us, right? I come from that world, so that's, for me, it's hard to understand. Like in your case, in that scenario, because you lost your mom, But in my case, I came from a good place, and I was like, what am I doing? When I was started going to psychologists and started drinking antidepressants, I was like, what am I doing? And my mom could tell you that, like, because when I told my mom, this is the last day that I'm drinking this pill. Threw it down the toilet. This is the last day that I'm going to a psychologist. Because I understood that I was just being childish. Mm. And since that day, my mom has never heard me complain. My mom has never seen me sitting down. I'm out here working for my future. Because nobody else is going to do it for me.
No.
And the proudest moment for me was when my mom told me that she thought, because I used to live in the Dominican Republic. We used to live in Florida from 2004 to 2011. My parents had a work visa. We had to go back. Then we came back from 2000 and we went back to the DR from 2011, and I stayed there till 2018. And then I used to travel back and forth. Then I came, overstayed my welcome, got married. Now I have my residency, right? But
in 2018?
Right now, as of right now, I'm still a resident.
No, right. Let's see. When you came back?
2018. I got married in 2019, and now I got my work visa.
Nice.
Not my work visa, my residency.
Residency now for being married here.
Yeah, from being married here. So, like, since 2018, my mom hasn't received a call from me saying, "Mom, I need $100." Right. And one of my proudest moments, because before I depended on my parents, one of my proudest moments was when she told me, we thought we had a little money on the side because we thought that at some point you were going to need us to send you money. Because I always depended on them. So since that day, it's always been my mission. She could buy me stuff. I'm not saying that. I could tell her, "Hey, Mom, get this and I'll give you money later." That's different. But the fact of me not having to count on them has been one of my proudest moments in my life. And also educated me for when my son is 10 years old. He has an LLC already. I'm putting an LLC on my son at 10. What do you like? You like, let me put an example. You like building blocks. Let's say this is a building blocks. You want to put a building blocks company about your designs? Let's do it. I'm educating that kid since he's 10 years old. To set up his own businesses.
Wow. That's the move. That's what we got to do now. We got to move that forward.
Bezos, the Microsoft, Apple. What did they do for the kids? They set them up in the spot where they can succeed. And another thing that I have is, I don't know if you know about, are you Dominican?
Yeah.
Okay, Corripio. You know Corripio?
Mm-hmm.
¿Qué hace Corripio? He's a billionaire in DR. He's a billionaire. But all his kids have to start from stocking, from the smallest position in the company, sweeping, mopping, and then their supervisors have to graduate them, and they can before they sit on a desk in the office.
That's smart.
So when you think about it,
that's brilliant.
These kids are millionaires since they were born,
right?
But they're being educated, so when they get the power, they know what to do with it.
Right.
Kids today have a lot of power because of social media, because parents have been, approving of a lot of things. Oh, I'll fund you. They get a lot of funding from different things. Social media has helped them build fan bases, etc. But they don't know how to switch that into a business. Because whenever they feel bad about something, they go hiding. But if you don't work like you worked for everything that you have today, since you were 14 years old, you can now appreciate it, and a person can respect it. But if you don't know what that is, you can't respect it.
Right.
And that's what's happening with a lot of kids.
Yeah. No, I mean, to elaborate on that, see, the thing with me is that, I know a lot of people that it was for, let me go back a second, right? So I learned a valuable lesson in college, right? I had one of my roommates, right? It was, I come from Passaic. Everybody's Spanish and black, and a couple, a few other nationalities, Indian, white, whatever, real small minority. So in college, my roommate is white. Mm-hmm. So me and him are talking, we just started or whatever. So it was like a few days into the semester, and it's like nighttime, and I'm like, he's not around. I'm like, damn, where's the guy at? So he's gone the whole night or whatever. So I wake up in the morning and he's there. So the next day we talk, and I was like, yo, where you was at last night? He's like, oh, I went to work. And I was like, work? He's like, yeah. I'm like, I thought you told me your father was well off. He was like, yeah, my father's well off, not me.
Oh, wow.
Yo, that hit me so hard because where I come from, if your father was well off,
good.
You're well off.
You're
right?
good.
You're good. Here, this is all yours, right? But not in the American cultures. Not in certain cultures. It's not. They're well off, not you. Because if they're well off and they give it to you, you'll mess it all up because you didn't work for it. You're not going to care about it. Now it's all gone. Yeah. But if they teach you that you got to go get yours, guess what? Now you got yours, plus you got mine because I'm not letting mine go.
Who's gonna stay? Who's gonna stay with this? You
exactly.
But you're gonna be able to give it more validation and use it properly. Instead of you going get this money, go buy a Ferrari.
Saying, right? So now I took that and I ran with it. So now me as a parent, the way I parent my kids, my kids know, like I don't buy my kids anything. Pretty much.
Yeah.
I don't buy them nothing, pretty much.
They have to work for it.
They have to work for it. Anything that they want big, they got to wait for Christmas or their birthday. right? And they know that they could work for money and all that around the house, but like like for me, I look at it this way. I'm not buying you $200 Jordans. I'm not buying you Gucci. I'm not buying you Louis. I'm not buying you Yeezys. I'm not buying you anything expensive. But you live in a nice house.
You got everything you need.
You drive in a nice car.
Oh, because did you give them cars?
No, my kids are little. I'm saying they drive in my car.
Oh, okay.
They get to ride in a nice car. Our house has a swimming pool. You got a swimming pool. You got a nice yard. Mm-hmm. My kids go to private school.
Oh wow!
They go on vacation 3 or 4 times a year. So I'm giving you, and I'm giving you a quality of life. Mm-hmm. I'm giving you a loving, supporting, dual parents.
Yo, this phones, bro. Someone is calling me.
You can't make this up.
Quality of life.
You can't make this up.
Welcome to a live event.
Right, live, 100% live. So for me, I'm teaching my kids value, right? Because I'm teaching them like, yo, you got to get yours. Like I got mine, and I'm gonna leave you a lot of stuff.
But you
got to be ready for it, because I'm not gonna just leave you a whole bunch of stuff if you ain't ready for it. Like, that's not what I'm gonna do. So for me, I always felt like, a lot of people will tell you, oh, I got to give my kids everything that I didn't have. I look at it like I am giving them everything I didn't have, because I'm giving them security with parenting. I'm giving them support. I'm giving you education,
great education,
and I'm giving you a great environment to live in.
And above value education. And I know that you probably don't live in a weird town. You live in a good town too, right. So they get to live a very different lifestyle than you did. So you already give them everything they need.
Already. So for me, I don't feel bad about not giving them money or buying stuff or whatever.
So what do you think people associate with buying them brand name things and buying things like that?
It's a lot of times you figure. A lot of times it's a single mother that's compensating for not having the dad, right? Feeling bad for this child because he doesn't have the support or whatever. And then the other times it's everything I didn't have, and I wanted those things. My mother never gave them to me, so I want to give it to them. That's that whole mentality. My mother gave me everything, so I already had everything. So for me, I never looked at it like that because I already had that. So, but right now, one thing I am giving him is I started a new thing with him. So now what we're doing is every night we're reading a book from my library, from my business and self-development library. So I pick the book, I read it to him, he takes notes, and then he tells me a summary, and then I pay him $50 for every book that we finish. So he'll have a book summary at the end of the book, and I pay him $50 for every book that we read. We're on book number 2 right now.
I made $100.
Yep.
But that's genius, because you're at the whole transaction, the knowledge is staying in. I have a friend that his dad did the same thing with him. It's like, oh, you want to go out? Read this book, and then you can go out. Read me a paragraph, and then write me the same thing. Write me a report, and then you can go out. Right. But now, since it was 10 years old, all this information was just bang in his head. So he's, 30 now? But he has all this knowledge right here that it's easy for him to navigate different rooms because it was instilled in him prior to it. Yeah. So right now, and again, it goes back to what we were saying a little earlier, value. If you give people value, that's the most important part. And that's what I'm thinking about my son. And I also do it with my wife. My wife is young. My wife's 8 years younger than me. I'm young, so imagine that, right? I tell her, like, all I need you to do is read. Educate yourself. When you don't know something, go figure it out. When you're trying to figure something out, learn it. Because at the end of the day, that's the value that you're going to stay with. It doesn't matter if you fail in that business. It doesn't matter if the business is good or bad. Because at the end of the day, you're going to learn something from it. And that's what's important, at least for me.
Me too. I'm a big advocate of the crazy part. I never read one book until until after I finished college.
Oh wow!
After college is when I started reading, and now I have a vast library.
Wow!
I have a library of real physical books. I have a huge Audible library.
Wow!
And I have a little bit in iBooks with Apple.
I'm a very video guy, so I watch everything on like any documentary, anything about history, anything about a certain subject, for example, finance, right? I watch a lot of the SMBC finance videos, the ones that talk about things that happened before. That's how I'm able to have different conversations with people like you, where I can actually follow what you're saying.
It's about education and skills. It's skill set. That's why on my channel, I always promote, I always preach, I always push, because I think a lot of people are getting it wrong, right? I think everybody's so focused, number one, on what things cost and what it costs to get things, right? But nobody's looking at,
the value.
Are you enhancing your value? Are you acquiring a new skill set? Do you have something of value to offer the marketplace?
Yep.
Right? Are you sitting around? Because right now in today's market, you can't tell me that you can't educate yourself on whatever topic it is in like that. Yeah. You no longer have to go to a 3-year school, a 2-year school. You could actually sit down. You're not working. You could sit down every day on YouTube and have like a classrooms thing, apply it, do it. You could volunteer for people. And you could just do it just like that on the fly. So there's so many skills that you could get, you can acquire.
I learned this whole interesting industry on YouTube.
Right.
I haven't taken a course. I haven't taken a seminar. I haven't taken any of that. What's been happening, of course, is now that I'm more into the business, I get to go to people's seminars.
Right. You upgrade your skills because you're hearing stuff that upgraded because you already got the basis of it. But you can get the basis anywhere. And people just aren't doing it.
And by you watching that video, you know if whoever's talking to you is talking you BS or if they're telling you the truth.
Right.
But if you don't do research prior, how do you expect to know that person is selling you that house for the wrong reasons?
Yeah. Because my thing is, look, we still, we're not earning enough as a community. We're not earning enough, and there's still too much leisure. If you ain't making a whole lot of money, why is there so much focus on leisure?
And that's another thing.
You shouldn't be watching any TV shows like that. And when I say any, meaning very little, because that time you could be investing in getting a skill set.
Yeah.
Why you got time to watch Power? but you can't find a job. You got time to watch Power, but you're not happy making $15 an hour. You want to make $25. You want to make $35. You want to make $50 an hour. Yep. You want to make $100 an hour, but you're not doing nothing to get that.
Exactly.
To be in position for that. So that's what I look at stuff like that.
And then the other thing too is real quick, just to give that extra value. People don't know how to live below their means. Right now, we're not in a moment where we're supposed to go to the restaurant every Tuesday. Right now, we're like, if you don't have it, go home and have dinner.
Yep.
With your family.
It's so much cheaper.
Relax. But people I don't understand why they can't just relax. And if you don't got the money to do certain things, limit yourself. If you have to return the car, it's okay. Return, sell the car. You'll be fine. You'll be able to get it. But if you...
It's image. A lot of it's image.
Right? But if you go 100% and then get screwed, what happens? It's worse.
It looks even worse, yeah. But you know what? Nobody plans for the worst. Nobody thinks the worst will happen. It's like this naiveness. Like, I don't think that's going to happen to me.
But it is. I had to do it.
It can.
And I will say it with no problem. If you made it this far, we're an hour and a half into this, I'll say this. And I'm honest. I told my wife, listen, I don't know where we're going right now, right? We're good. Bills are paid. Things are paid. But I don't know how we're going to be in 2 to 3 months down the line. We have to be okay with chilling in the house, watching Netflix, watching a little TV. 2 years ago, we were on vacation the whole year. Right now, we need to be relaxed.
Yeah.
Next year, we'll be on vacation again.
Right.
But you need to understand where you're at and what you need to do to survive.
Yeah, what's happening, right?
But people don't have those conversations with themselves. No. That's what I believe.
I do too. And I just feel that, our people could be in a lot of trouble because if you're remaining being average average is going to be below average real fast.
Real quick.
Real fast. Because inflation and prices going up on everything. That
I'm
alone,
making the same amount of money I was making last year.
And you're a lot poorer.
And I go to I do my bills and I'm like, I'm making the same amount of money, sometimes a little more, but I'm not buying the same things that I used to buy last year. So what do I have to do? Relax.
Yeah.
Because when you go to the supermarket, I used to buy a shit ton of groceries with $200. I spend $400, $500 now for the same amount of groceries a month.
So right there, then PSC&G, then rent, and everything has gone up. Everything. And the thing is, the smaller the people are as far as economics and stuff.
We make money because we're dealing B2B. So our transactions are bigger than people who have a $15 an hour job.
Yeah.
It's very different.
Yeah, very different. And it's like, that's why you're going to have to improve your skills. You're going to have to get new skills.
Every day.
You're going to have to go for
Learn.
it. Figure out something else that you want to do and go do it. Which leads me transitioning into, for the public, one thing that I'm going to do, right? Because I look at the public, I look at my community, and I'm like, I always look at what can I do to help, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to offer some classes to the public, so that at least if you want to learn more about investing or just buying a house or just if you want to do it as a living or whatever, you could learn. And I'm going to be offering that in the new year.
Okay, people. So you heard it here. It's important to learn, get your knowledge, get your stuff in order, figure out what's the next step, figure out how you're going to get to that next step, and also go to people who are doing the right thing to teach you and get you advancing, which is the priority, right? It's getting people ahead, and the education that you receive in the 2000s that changed your life, maybe they can receive the same education in 2023 that will change theirs. Because at the end of the day, you're leaving your family you came from nothing and you're leaving your family something. But it's because you did the right things throughout the years to get to where you are today. And, it was cool getting to know you. I mean, we've been here for an hour and 40 minutes. What do you think?
It went fast.
It went fast, right? It doesn't feel like it.
At all.
But it was a great conversation with you. And, when is it they're going to be in your social media, all the information?
Yeah. I'm going to have a class for beginners, people that are just starting in real estate. And that class I'll have one for the quarter. So it'll be 3 classes broken up into 3 classes. And it's going to help show you how to be a beginner, what a transaction looks like, how to buy a house, how to pick a house, the contract, everything that to do with a deal. So you'll go through it. When you leave the class, you should be able to feel like, oh, you know what? I pretty much know how to buy a house now. Okay. And I know what it would take to qualify. We're going to walk through all the steps to do it. So that one, then I got a mastermind that's going to be for advanced real estate investors. That class, unfortunately, you have to qualify to be in it. Okay. So there's some criteria because we want you to bring something to the table. So you're either going to bring money, knowledge, expertise, access.
Because you have to be ready.
Yeah, you have to be ready for that class, for that course. Then I'm going to have a third one, which is going to be a landlord workshop. So if you want to become a landlord, you think you want to become a landlord, but you want to know how it is because you've heard so many things. How does things get rented? What happens with leases? What happens if I got to evict somebody? What happens if something breaks? How do these things all work? So I'm going to have a landlord workshop, and that's going to be one. I'm going to have one a quarter. Oh, wow. So then that one is going to be packed in. So I'm going to try to put everything in there. Everything from dealing with tenants to hiring a management company to dealing with vendors to everything. So that at least you could know.
Oh, that's great. Okay. And, you'll be able to find out his page, Expert Advisor Broker. I always get your page wrong, even when I'm looking for it.
Most people do.
So follow him on Expert Advisor Broker. That's really valuable, especially when someone who's been in the industry for 22 years. You don't get that often. A lot of people who've been in the industry for so long usually are in Florida chilling out right now where they're drinking their margaritas, but you want to teach people
or doing their own thing, right?
How to how to build their own wealth too.
Yeah.
Which is great.
And in the future, I want to be teaching people how to build houses too.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, once yeah.
But you first want to get this out of the way, figure how this is going to work, and then you can go to the next course.
Go to that next thing, yeah, in a few years, because I want to get the education and everything, so I could pass that on. Nice. But my thing is, I just want to be able to contribute to our communities, to our people. Black and brown people need to they need opportunities, they need chance, they need knowledge, they need info.
Yeah,
for the ones that are going to do something. Like, there's a lot of them that are not going to do anything. That's fine. But the ones that want to do something, I don't want the lack of knowledge or the lack of money or the lack of opportunity to ever hinder you.
There's people who do business transactions with no money, but you have to know how to set yourself up to be in that position. It's not that you're just gonna jump into the real estate world and be able to do it.
Right.
You have to be in a position in order to take advantage of that situation.
Yeah, which leads me to this. So many people come up to me and say, "Oh, I want to do wholesaling." Mm-hmm. Like, do you know what wholesaling is? Wholesaling means that you are darn near an expert in in the field. How are you going to be a beginner and be a wholesaler? Some people can do. You might do a deal or two, but you can't make a career out of it off the bat. You got to start from.
That's not easy.
You got to start from knowledge of real estate to get to there. Because you need to know pricing, you need to know value, you need to know comps, you need to know construction,
communication.
You need to know all this stuff, negotiation, everything, assignments, contracts, lawyers. You're
doing a graduating process at that time,
right? Exactly. You're doing it's almost equivalent to you saying, I only have a high school degree, but I want to get my master's. It's like you're just gonna skip over everything. I'm gonna go right to my doctorate. So I'm just okay. Good luck with that.
You can't do that.
No,
you can't do that.
Well, it's not recommended.
Thank you so much for being on the podcast.
It was my pleasure.
I think this is the longest episode I've done.
Oh my God.
So it was great conversation, and I love the fact that we were able to go into different subjects, talk a little about your history. I know that your followers are probably going to take value on knowing a little bit more about you. So thank you everybody for watching, and any messages you want to leave everybody with?
Just be on the lookout for me posting the classes. I will definitely look forward to having you in one of my classes. I hope I could touch you and your family and impact you, because that's part of my legacy. And I just hope that I could contribute to give you value and hopefully give you success and prosperity in the future.
Thank you so much, everybody. See you soon, or see you next Sunday. You know what I mean.